Good evening. Welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here on a podcast to help you fight CPS and stop taking our children. Fight CPS and stop taking our children. Now, I want to warmly welcome all of you. This is a live podcast from Southern California. We're here to talk about the child protection system. It is the government agency that's entrusted to protect our children from neglect and abuse and do family reunification. And most of you have probably been in this for a while, or maybe just recently. I warmly welcome everybody because what you're in a nightmare of a situation, a very hard nightmare to work through. Now, I too had a CPS case, a child protection system case. And it was in Southern California where my case was. And it was very corrupt. And 3 of my children were taken. They were kidnapped or trafficked. And this happened, well, it started about 2010 when I lost my job through no fault of my own. And I had some in-laws, lay people that I did not know that were calling in and reporting things that were not true. This is the problem about CPS. Everything they hear is they believe it's true. And right away you're guilty until you're proven innocent. So it's very careful. You are guilty until you're proven innocent. The kids are taken. They're not in imminent danger, but they're still taken. I was really surprised by how quickly they take your kids and they're not in imminent danger. They're not in imminent danger. Now, there's several ways to work with this podcast. One of the first ways is be a listener in my room. And I love to have you as a listener. You don't have to make any comments. You don't have to do a phone call. You don't have to special as a guest. Those are other ways. But we have 4 ways we can interact with this podcast. And the first way is a lot of you doing right now is listening. Is listening to what I'm saying and what other people are saying. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. Natalie's from West Hollywood, California, south of Los Angeles. Welcome, Natalie. So just by being a listener is one way. The second way is to, when you are wanting to show a comment, all you do is you type the comment in the window with your CPS question, and it should pertain to CPS. We don't have time, the luxury to talk about other topics. There's a lot going on in this world. I'd love to have time to talk about it, but it's really hard, so you have to concentrate on that. So when you text in a comment, try to show your name, your city, your state, and or country. We do have about 14 countries that text in messages all the time. Yes, the world has found this Facebook page. I'm found on Facebook, Fighting CPS Bob Pace. And so with that being said, people from around the world cruise MySpace and they find me on there and they come here to the YouTube. Now I broadcast on YouTube, but I use the StreamYard application, I'm sitting on my phone, so it's very important that I have my phone plugged in too. Now, the second way or the third way is that you're going to uh, use my phone number. Now, remember, when you're texting comments, be complete with your CPS case. Try to do it in three parts. One, describe your family. Are you a husband, wife? Are you a girlfriend, boyfriend? Are you lovers? Do both parents still help out with the kids? How many children? How many boys? How many girls? And were they in their early years or teenage years when this has happened? And then on top of that, why were they taken? Was it neglect or abuse? And give some details of why they were taken. And then lastly, how they were taken, meaning did you give them to them? I mean, do you give your children up to them? Did they come to your home? You let them in? You gave permission? Or was there a court order, a warrant that forced their way into your home? Because they're not supposed to be in your home, or you're not supposed to be talking to social workers. I'll talk about it in one of my rules there. But, talk about that and then finish off with where you're at on your case. And that way it'll go a lot smoother. I don't have to play ping pong ball. Now, I know that there are countries that call in, and some of the countries we've had are fairly new. We had South Africa, and that text a comment in one of the provinces. We've had Rwanda at Eastern Central Africa above South Africa. They're the ones in the 90s had the horrific slaughter of 1 million people that were killed. And then we have a country called Mozambique, which is south of Somalia, north of South Africa, across from Madagascar. Then lastly, we had Liberia, which is northern Africa on the west side. And he calls in occasionally, and it's Archie. And he's a scout leader, and he works with the scouts, and he likes to learn how things are. So, get those comments in. I love to see them. I'll be right with you, Natalie. Hello, Lori. Welcome. Tonight she's honoring William Moline. William Moline. She has different people. She comes in on a regular basis. I have no idea where they're at. So that's great. So, Natalie, I'll be right with you in a second here. And then the other countries that we've had have been Bangladesh, India, and then in Europe we've had England, Scotland, Wales, United Kingdom, and we've had Denmark and Sweden. Then in South America we've had Guyana, which is east of Venezuela and above Brazil. We've had Mexico. We've had all the United States, including Washington, D.C., and then we've had Canada, several people on the east coast and west coast of Canada. And not to forget about the land down yonder, it's Australia. They've been there. So it's been interesting with the international flavor about CPS, but I'm open to try to help people of the world in the United States fighting CPS. You're going to find CPS corrupt, and they're in it for the money. They make $80 billion a year doing this, so they're in it for the money. Now, the last thing you interact with the room is you can call in to my number, and it's 626-698-0990. That's my work number. I'm on Vonage. We have a live stream internet phone. And so when you call that, I will answer it only during the hours that I'm on the show. So that is Monday through Sunday in the morning from 10 o'clock for an hour Pacific Standard Time, except on Sunday, I come on a couple hours earlier. I'm on at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Then the evening, I'm on at 7, and I go for an hour and that's Pacific Standard Time. So you just call in at the number 626-098-0990. I forgot a fourth way. I messed up there. I forgot about if you want to be a host. Now, if you want to be a host, let me get there. To schedule to be a guest on our show, all you have to do is email our show producer, Grace, who works very hard behind the scenes, keeping me in line, and also um, she will help you with a link to the SteamYard application, which we use on Facebook. And then she'll tell you what you can do on the show, like no eating or drinking or smoking on the show. So all you have to do is email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And she'll get you on the show and she will talk to you. Anyway, that is the fourth way. One is you in the room. That's one way to interact. Two is you text comments. Three, you can make a phone call. And four, be a guest. Four, you can be a guest. So that's the best way to interact on the podcast. Now, I have to catch up with Natalie because she said some things. So let's see what Natalie shared with this room. Natalie starts off saying hi to the room, and then she further says, "We need to listen." Yeah, she says, "I paid a gardener. He then ran away and he didn't work." Well, that's a message that you don't pay people till the work is done. So Natalie further said, "Thank God he ran away." Well, if you paid him, he took all your money. That's a bad thing, Natalie. That doesn't sound too positive. So many of them that really take advantage. I agree. People do that all the time. And Natalie said hi again to Lori. So I've caught you up there, Natalie. I think you're up there pretty much that I've covered what you've had to say. Now, there we go. I want to see where two of our people are. I keep calling them, and I know Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky, and she should be here, but sometimes the notification is about 10 minutes. So here you go. So I've notified Faye in Richmond, Kentucky that she can join us. And the other person is Daniel. She used to be our co host, but she has not, since her computer broke, been back. Hmm. Okay, Daniel Rott is from Georgia. Now, we do get other people from time to time. I've had lots of people in this room. I had someone from Washington, D.C. not too long ago. We've had two social workers. One actually works for CPS, the other one is hired by CPS. And both of them were okay to talk for 40 minutes. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. So I try to bring in a different variety in this room and also try to help everybody with the questions and the topics that may come up. I have 4 rules that I talk about. Um, my mouth is a little bit tired. Man, it was a long day today, I tell you. I don't know if you guys had a good day. I always try to have a good day. And I look forward to these podcasts because I want to be creative and help you. Now, somebody may ask you, who is Bob Pace? Bob Pace, you know, has been doing this a long time. He's like a dinosaur, but he's forever young. Anyway, in 2010, I lost my job through no fault of my own. And that's when CPS started interfering with my life. And first, the first 5 years, it was like they would come out or they'd call me and I'd tell them, and they believe what I said. They believe the lay people all the time. My wife's sister, her mother, her father, her brother, that would sit there and say some crazy stuff like we weren't bathing the kids, we weren't dressing the kids weren't going to school, they had no activity, they had no food, and all that. And I took them in the house too. I did not know that they're not supposed to inspect your house, or you have a right to not want them because they'll find something else. They'll find something up. That's one of the reasons why you don't want them to inspect your home, because what you may lay around may be trouble with them. So it's important you have your room, your house looking like how your attorney wants to look like. So you need to talk to your attorney about that. Now, Natalie says, Lori. Now, who is Lori? Did Lori come in the room? Oh, you mean Lori Miller? I'm sorry. Yeah, this has always been very interesting. You spelled her name differently, and that's what threw me. The Lori Hiller comes in this room every show and lists the name, and I have no idea where she's from, what it's about, but she's welcome to be in my room to be a listener. She's welcome to be in my room to be a listener. So does anyone have anything to have a question about or want to talk on the show? Let me get my phone number up. There's my phone number, 626-698-0990. And you're welcome to call on that number, and I'll turn the speakerphone on. You can talk about your case. So it's like a guest, but you can be live. And your picture won't show, but your voice will on my speakerphone. Now, CPS, you have to understand they're bad people. They're bad social workers. And how I mean by that is my social worker turned our daughter against us. See, I'm a family man. I have 6 children. 3 of them are young. My wife is young. We've been married 32 years. And so this was very hard because you're not born with a manual of how to deal with CPS. You're not born with a manual of how to raise children or how to work out differences with your spouse. There's a lot that goes into a relationship, and it's a hard thing. They used to have life skills in high school, but I think they've stopped those. I don't see any more where, you had to wear a pillow and see what it feels like you're pregnant or something like that, or take classes on birth control, or take classes of abstinence. Um, anyway, you're not. You just trial and error, and whatever your parents or friends tell you, that's what you end up doing. So it is kind of hard. And the problem is when you have an agency that you believe in, and they're corrupt, it really destroys your mind. It's hard to believe that there's corruptness in social worker because they found the money part. They love the money part. They love the money part. Oh, okay. Natalie's making me feel better. Dinosaurs are on my plants. Okay, I guess the little bugs lived back in dinosaur days. So, anyway, I had a case late in life. I lost my job when I was 16. My children were stolen from me when I was 65. And I didn't get my children back to 3 years later till I was 68. So it is a very hard thing, me personally, going through it. So I like to share some rules and some ideas that will help you with your case. One of the first things I like to talk about is getting an attorney. That's my rule number one. Now, we have an attorney that sponsors this podcast. It's Vincent W. Davis. And it's Vincent W. Davis and Associates law firm that produces this podcast. He is a family juvenile dependency lawyer. His background is social services, the CPS. He's won cases against them and gotten children back. He's also sued them for lawsuits and won millions of dollars. He has done that. So he's a good attorney. And right now, he's offering a strategy session where you talk to him for 30 minutes at $60. 30 minutes for $60. And he will help you negotiate at CPS how to fight them and get your children back. And if you like him, you may want to retain him. You may want to retain him. So have an attorney represent yourself, but the first step is you have to talk to them. You have to have a consultation to find out if they're really meant for you. Now, Vincent Davis has fought CPS and got the children back. He's won cases. He's also filed civil lawsuits, won millions of dollars. So what he does work. But I think what's happening a lot lately is that people don't look at the whole picture. And that's what I'm saying about CPS. They're an evil entity. Now, when you do talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you call the office and tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And then when you talk to Mr. Davis, say that Bob Pace sent you. That will help you get over any awkwardness of talking to him. He's easy to talk to, and he is a loving father, and he has a loving family, and so I had hired him, but I was late, and I had to sell my home. I lost my credit. It was sad. It was so sad what I had to do, but I was determined to fight this and win and get my children back, and I did fight them. But I don't know if they just went in the one ear, went out the other ear. I don't know. So with this rule number one, getting an attorney, it's like dealing with CPS is like open heart surgery. In open heart surgery, you're going to get a professional doctor. You're not going to be a layperson like a plumber or an auto mechanic cut open your chest and try to work on your heart. It's going to be a professional doctor, one that's been to medical school, done an internship, and mentor other doctors before they went into your chest cavity. So that's what I meant. You need to get someone professional, someone that can fight for your case. And I strongly urge you to talk to Mr. Davis. So having an attorney will give you a big sigh of relief. If you try to use the court-appointed attorney, you're going to be disappointed. They won't have time for meetings with you before your court case. And also, if they're in the courtroom, you'll be out on the sidelines and not allowed to be in there. So you don't even know what he's doing. And the court attorney sometimes is friends of the judge or the other attorneys. And so do that consultation, get that attorney, because you're going to be like Alice in Wonderland, going from room to room, and all they say is off with your head, and you don't know what you're doing, who you're going to talk to. They aren't your friend. CPS workers lie, and they make lots of money. Now, he will fight in other states. He has 35 years of fighting CPS. He's a trial attorney. That means he knows how to do trials. He has fought CPS both in dependency court, where your children were stolen or taken, and he'll get them back. Also, in the civil case, with civil cases, he's done that also. So he's an excellent attorney, and I strongly recommend that you talk to him, that you can talk to him and work out all your problems. Because once you hire him, then your problems seem to go away. Um, Good evening, Natalie. You decided to call in.
Hi. Yes.
Go ahead, Natalie.
Hello.
Yeah, Natalie.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say, everybody, he has when you're looking for an attorney, you should ask questions, like you're saying, because a lot of these attorneys, that's not their specialty. They deal with family court, and family court's not that juvenile dependency court at all, because family court it doesn't deal with social workers. That's another thing we need to mention, because you could get confused with that.
Yeah, well, you definitely want an attorney that fights. And I'm suggesting, Mr. Davis, you can keep your court-appointed attorney, but once he's representing you, you can no longer talk in court, and you have to sit in the hallway because he'll take over it. So you're depending your life on his hands. But he's not a fighter, and he'll go along with the other attorneys. So that's the disadvantage of using a court-appointed attorney. Yes, you may save a buck or two, but you may lose your child. You may lose your child.
They have to. You see, what the problem is that, yeah, you can pay your attorney, but it's the judge who ultimately just, because the judge I had, she was just weird. Like, she doesn't make sense.
Wow.
I was paying my attorney. Yeah. It wasn't free.
No,
we paid him.
Yeah.
So the problem is what we have is the system is the way it's set up. I'm not, you know what I mean? Yes, sometimes the court attorneys, they're not very, what's the word? Informed. You know, they just go along to whatever and agree. But sometimes you have to figure out why is like happening this, you know, with the judge, because the judge, they read everything before you get there, and they decide everything before you get there. In my case, they decided, like, for my son to like, you know, not be with my daughters before I got there. And then somehow they came up with this idea that they didn't get the ICPC. That's nonsense. They did.
Wow. Wow. That is sad.
It is sad, and I still want to get for the guardianship for my daughters because I feel it'd be better for them to just come home now because I'm too skinny, they say. I don't have company just to play around with, but it's better they just come home because they don't need to be with strangers. What's their benefit? They don't see their own brother.
Oh, I know.
I can't even see my son yet, but
and the young kids,
I can go see my son with a problem is
right.
It's too far. It's in 2 states away.
And the young kids are broken apart from the siblings, which is wrong.
Yes, like your daughter. She was broken away from the brothers.
Yes.
Yeah, she has 2 brothers, right?
Right. I had
That's
two.
That's what they do.
Well, it's all about.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They separate the boys and the girls on purpose. It's a pattern. They did that to my friend too. The same judge. She separated her daughters. She had 2 twin daughters and her son. So her son is now grown up, but at the time he was a teenager, and the daughters are like, I don't know, 8 or 9 by that point. But they were taken at 3 or 4. They like to take up like really like small for a reason, and then in pairs.
Okay.
Very weird. Oh. So they have this weird pattern that's doing that. And sometimes they really want to take children that look like European or whatever, so they make money off of them. Oh, yeah, you know? And so they have that, but I tell everybody, you have to be careful because where you live, a lot of the times they track you down, and the DCFS is known for that. They'll track you. I have my lawyer. He had a case where this woman was his client, and she was living at one point in Lancaster or Palmdale, but she moved from Palmdale or Lancaster to Hollywood. She was living in an apartment off of Highland or something like that in Sunset. So her husband would come and stay with her, but the DCFS says he's not even allowed to stay with her. But how would they would know? They were just stalking her. He told me that.
Who did?
My lawyer.
Wow, he told you that.
He passed away, though. He told me that the woman was being followed by DCFS, and she would work as a security in a grocery store or something like that around there, and then that's what she did.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That was. You sound like he was a good man.
Yeah, he was a friend of Davis, Mr. Mike Randall. I mean, he knew everything. Was very bright, and what the problem? It was the judge who would not budge with the ICPC. The kids, and then she said that my girls were comfortable with crazy people that hit them. That's the problem. They believe in bringing all these illegal, weird things, people, whatever they are. My daughters don't even know their own brother. They don't even know that they're going to get a brand new everything soon, but they don't know that. They just have to live with weird people.
Yeah,
they're not even part of their own culture.
CPS keeps everybody in the dark.
Right.
Now, you know those
people. Right, they want to do that.
Yeah, you know those CPS workers in Prescott, Arizona, the pink ladies?
Yeah, the pink
Yeah.
ladies.
They had 25 years of social experience. There was 8 of them. They were white, and they decided to buy some pink t-shirts, and on the front they stenciled professional child kidnappers. And on the back they put, do you know where your children are at? So with that kind of mentality parading around, that is terrible. Think of what parents are thought of by social workers.
It's terrible. This is another terrible thing that Mike told me. This is true. So he had a client, and she was pregnant. Okay, but they had already taken one baby before, and she was on the freeway. I don't know whether she was driving or her husband was driving the car.
Okay.
So they stopped, and she's in the middle of the freeway. And she's giving birth.
Wow.
She's giving birth. And so like the police, they take her like to the nearest hospital. I think this is like somewhere in Lancaster too, because Mike was living out in Lancaster, and I used to visit with him like a shopping center to our transaction stuff. Anyway, so then I guess like 8.5 hours later, they take the child. In the hospital. There was nothing, because the problem was because the other baby wasn't in the system. So Mike, he gets that call from the lady. He says, well, what do you mean? He says, yeah, I was on the freeway and I was giving birth, and then this is what happened. And then Mike says, hold on. And they had to go to court and everything. So I don't know what happened to her, but the baby, I have no idea. He didn't give me any more information. So this is real. Coming there, the medical kidnapping, trafficking, and for my story, they started originally with my first daughter, and what happened is she had jaundice, and she had an infection, and so, but she wasn't eating. She was getting really cold and funny. So when I was with her and everything, I brought her back the next day to the hospital, and they started blaming me for all these stuff. Like I was neglecting her. I'm crazy. This and that. Meanwhile, she could have died if I didn't take her to the hospital.
Wow.
She's 2 days old. She has no hemoglobin or whatever, and then she has high jaundice. And so I'm no crazy person doing this. No, the hospital did it. They would like make fun of my statements, or they're so evil, those nurses. I hope they not around to do nursing, but they would just make fun of. Basically, I took her to the hospital, and they were taking too long, and she's very sick, and they said that I wasn't feeding her. That's not true. I tried. I couldn't breastfeed anyway because there was no milk coming. So I just gave her formula, and then she couldn't eat. And then afterwards, they gave her another test. Their jaundice is high, and then they took her. We had to take her to the emergency room, which was across the street. And then I was in there for like 8.5 hours because they had to give her a spinal tap. She had an infection. That's the infection must have came from the hospital, for sure.
Okay.
With the sick baby.
Okay.
Well, and then afterwards, they took her and everything, and I had to wait a year.
Special prayers,
and then after, special prayers. I always pray for everybody, so that dog next door never cuts it out. We always need to pray, because if you trust in the prayer, it'll work. Yes. It's hard not to see your child, but God knows He's going to return them because He never lies, God. And it's important that you all have faith in God. I do. Yep. Hello?
Yeah, I'm thinking right now the mistakes I made with my daughter, Natalie.
What is the mistake? You were trying to help her, and then these
Well,
people
I
mess
should
her
have
brain
known
up.
those are lay people that were calling in. See,
Yeah,
they don't. The mistake that CPS does is they keep the calls anonymous. So people can lie,
that's
lay
true.
people can lie, and that hurts them. So I wish I'd known that they were anonymous or were calling in, and then I could have had those social workers fired.
You can have them fired, but for investigating or just harassment for brainwashing.
I think the social worker, my daughter was too naive,
Lying.
and she lied to my daughter and tricked her.
Right. Right.
And now I know all
Well,
this.
yeah, when you fire is very hard. You have to really prove it.
Well, yeah,
That's
now
the
I know
thing,
what
because
it
she
is.
lied.
I have no way of proving it.
Right. You know? That upset me too, because they brainwash your daughter and they brainwash my daughter. But at the same time, when they brainwash them, they were being physically abused. My two daughters.
Oh, wow.
So I went and I filed all these things in the court, and they didn't believe what had happened. But my daughter told my monitor, who was a professional monitor he was an ex-retired sheriff, and he did work for the FBI, as the agency and everything. And then the stupid judge, she didn't believe my monitor. That when I was doing well on the visits, I never got unmonitored visits at all. So this is what happens. They have racism in all forms in this support system. They had it in racist against you and me and everything just to get that money. It's just my analogy is a gardener, right? Like, I gave you the money and now you're not gonna work.
Oh no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did owe him some money, okay, but then he showed up to supposedly work, and then he didn't work at all. So the next time when I see him, I'm just gonna kick his butt. That's what I said. Don't come back here again. You're a big liar. You thought I wouldn't pay you. Blah blah blah. It's just. And then he's like, count the money, count the money. I was like, that's all they care about is the money. We're living in a world with people who are full of greed and no integrity. They don't understand that there's a higher power watching over them. But all those people will be eradicated soon. That we're in the last days. So if you think you're not going to get your child back, that's wrong. God hears your prayers. He knows that you're there for him, and he's there for you. And don't let the devil come in your thoughts, because if you read Psalm 39, all of it, it'll tell you about how your thoughts could be cleansed with God in the Bible. Yes. So this is just a travesty of justice for all of us, but because of greed. But the thing is, when you look at it, it's just because they are sort of set up to get away with it. But in their mind, they have thought that. But in reality, your child will come home. It just takes time. What about the rules? We have to go over that.
Yeah, I think rule number 2, which is the notebook, we need to have you organize your paperwork. And you should try to get the thickest notebook you can, 8.5 by 11. And I think they make them like 6 inches thick, a 3-ring one. Stuff it full of college rule notebook paper to write your notes, and get some dividers and divide it up. One of the most important one to keep track of is your incidents. Every time you have an incident with the police or social services or with your children, it should be recorded. And all you need to do is put the date, the time, and the location of where you're from. Then you want to put your HUD that you're using, and then from there you go to
you're going to put the date of the time on all the other dividers.
Well,
and
yeah, you have to describe the
explanation.
incident. Yes.
Yeah.
You got to describe the
And then you
incident.
can put your other information, like your parenting class, for example.
Well, that's your other subject, but I'm still on incidents. You describe the incident, then you put the outcome of the incident, skip a couple lines to the next incident. And so by the time you're 6 months along, you'll have lots of incidents and they will help you. Now, rule number 3 is you say no to social workers, don't let them in your home, and don't let them take your children. They have to, there's only 3 ways a social worker can get your children. 1, they can ask you for your child, you give them permission. 2, the child is in imminent danger, it's domestic violence going on, shouting, pushing, harm is being shot to your child. They can do it that way. Or 3, they have to have a court warrant. It's something that's issued by the judge that basically says they have the right to search your property and they need to identify who you are and the other people's properties. And
well, the warrant is special because sometimes they'll give you a recycled warrant. And a recycled warrant is interesting because it's been Xerox so many times, or, they'll get but it's not a real, it's like, sometimes they even make fake warrants, which is interesting. They could copy over a signature, but that real warrant has like a real seal. It should have a real seal. Like,
they have those machines
it's like,
that emboss the paper.
Really, it's like it's coming out. It's coming out. My dad
right.
had an
If you run your fingers
for
over the paper, you'll feel the bumps.
Right. So the thing is, my dad saw once a fake warrant, and it was true. My dad was an attorney. He said, "This is bullshit. What is this?" And
yeah.
He went to actually just make sure it was bullshit. So she actually was friends with the Court of Appeal attorney, Court of Appeal judge, Turner.
All right.
And he looked at it. So he's like,
we have Happy Feet in the room. Happy Feet 7 in the room. Says, hi, Bob. Happy Feet. Name is Michael and Shallon. His wife is Shallon. He says, coming by to say, so good to hear from you. How did your visit go? Didn't you have a special visit with your daughter? How did that go? Happy Feet. We're talking about rule number 3, where you say no to social workers taking your child or coming to your home. Also, you don't want to talk to social workers. That's bad news to talk to social workers.
Don't talk to any of these people because they're writing all these things, and many of these things are impossibly made up. They're impossibly made up. You're only spending 2 hours with your child, right?
Right.
How in the world in the court, they're going to make up for the next 90 minutes or whatever, or days or 3 hours or whatever it is that you're doing this to your child? That's insane. We know that's a lie. You're only getting 2 hours, so it's total 4 hours with your child a week. So if you multiply 4 hours times a month, that's 16 hours. That's nothing. Your child is basically being diminished in many ways, and so are you.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So how in the world are they going to make up all these things? They must. I heard that they have a training about how to make up things.
Well, I would believe it. I'd not heard that one till you just mentioned it, but I know there's corruption.
Yes, it's very corrupt, and especially when you have I hate to say this, people who have an agenda to just retaliate against you and brainwash your kids.
Yes.
Because when you want to stand up for what's right for your child and stand up for what's right for everything, they start hating you more. And then this is the funny thing. So when I was with Mike, and this is true, that's my attorney, he he asked for like documentation of these people that were taken care of by kids of foster parents. They called it racist.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
They called it racist. And then, like, meanwhile, my uncle had to show everything. My uncle had to show his doctor's license, his pharmacology license, his citizenship papers, his home insurance papers, driving license, his foster license. And he even had to show, which is so funny, like how many hours he worked even in the hospital. My uncle is an anesthesiologist. So.
Right.
So my uncle had to work kind of part-time taking care of a baby, but it's my baby, but he really wanted a baby. Like, you sure? Like, can I get my baby back? It's like, no, I want a baby. I was like, okay. They were gonna. The mother was like, and my uncle won, but I never seen my son since he was like 8 months old. So that's very heartbreaking for me.
Yes.
I don't know what my son looks like now.
Yeah, well, I know my daughter doesn't look like she's 12 anymore. You know, she's 22 years old.
That baby.
So
there'll always be that baby for you. So even if she's like 6 years old, she's your baby. If she's 12 or 50, she's your baby.
Well, you got to learn to say no to social workers and not talk to them because they'll use things against you. The one
thing that they'll always make up is how crazy you are.
Right.
That's what they did to me. I don't know. Did they say you were crazy?
No, they didn't really talk about that. You know, they had just neglect.
Neglect.
Yeah. Neglect because they said my boxes. They said my boxes were too high. That the boxes may attack the children upstairs. The furniture was stacked too high. That's what they said.
First of all, they're boxes, and you could have just, I don't know, they're not, they're boxes. I mean, I understand you had stuff in them, and it's hard. That's none of their business to see their boxes. I don't let anybody in my house anymore.
Well, also you gotta be careful.
I do have many other things, but I'm comfortable.
Also, you have to be careful with medical trafficking.
Financially.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with medical trafficking.
The medical trafficking is horrible. So this has happened to me like so many times when I have a baby, my second daughter. So they were okay. They were nice to me. But then they had like a NICU social worker. She was going crazy. She had to call like DCFS on me when the social worker came. She said, I don't see any problem. She's right here in the hospital, the baby.
Well, if you're going to have a baby, they'll take it from you in the hospital if you're tested positive. That's a no-no.
Right. But sometimes you don't even need to be positive. They'll just take them anyway.
Yeah, they just have a habit of doing it with no...
They just have to have a baby in their hands that's fresh so they can sell it.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it. Now, I'd like to talk about my last rule. My last rule is the research. You need to research everything is to know about CPS. The internet is full of information. So you need to type in any question. Just make sure you have the city and state included with your question with CPS.
There's one thing you could actually go to, and this is good. If you go to UCLA Law Library, you just go to UCLA, and they have a lot of libraries. The UCLA library can help you. And you can go to LA Library, LA Law Library. I mean, that'll help also. On their website.
Yes.
Just Google it. So if you go in person to the UCLA Law Library, you can only stay on the bottom of the building of the library.
Now, Happy Feet has said another comment. Let me read you about what Happy Feet 7 said.
Okay.
Spending time with our child has been um, actually rewarding experience, and we cherish every moment we have with her. However, we've encountered same difficulties. Yeah, I know that the difficulties are hard. The difficulties are hard. And Happy Feet has told me they were so excited to have a visitation with their young kids. Happy Feet says of the chosen supervisors, other children has often involved running um, various errands for them. This has made it a challenge for us to focus fully on our time with our daughter. Yeah, I guess social workers
This is
manipulative.
very challenging because the visits, I hate to say it, are like basically a competition against you and the social worker.
Right, right.
It's kind of like weird tennis, except somebody else has a bigger racket. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, Natalie. I know what you mean.
There's like, you can't. It's very bizarre because what I had is so bizarre. I mean, they actually brought this woman to monitor my visits who was mentally disabled
Okay.
and physically disabled.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she has cerebral palsy. So I went to the court and I said I wanted removed for this FFA, but it's FFA. They can't. The thing with the FFA, they can't remove it. It's private. But if it's a county one, a county of LA, they can't. So if you could file a 170.6 for a county worker, but an FFA, they could do anything because they're getting that federal funding too.
Yes, they
and
are.
They're contracted out. They're contracted out by the county. So I had to sit and endure 100-degree heat with my children out there in Sepulveda City, which is North Hills, at the Penny Lane, outside, around this time in the summer. And then all she would do is just sit there and talk to herself and open her mouth and space out while I'm in 100-degree heat with my kids.
Wow. Wow.
Then later the supervisor came in and she was like, it was like visits, so many visits later. We had to have them indoors because they had air conditioning. I thought my children would die of heat stroke.
Really?
It's so hot. This woman was an idiot.
Well, I've seen them be idiots about car seats too.
Children hated them and they just pushed them all to the side. They're like, no more. I remember that. And they just sat on the cardboard on the back seat because my mom would put the cardboard on the back seat of the car because so that way it would protect the leather of the car.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I still have her car.
Right.
And it has like actually, it's so funny, but people say, why do you put a baby doll on it? I'm like, because it's forever a baby doll car. Always like there's just two, so two and 3-year-olds in there. It's so heartbreaking. I've covered the whole car, but it's just the worst thing you can have your child taken at that little age because they don't know better. They can't defend themselves. They don't see things the way you can help them because I'm their mom, no matter what. And the horrible thing is, they said that I wasn't their mom.
Yeah.
And that really broke my heart. I saved every penny for them. Even if I find a penny on the street, I save it. Could you imagine?
Okay.
Pennies. I mean, you guys got to be careful with your pennies.
Right. Well, Natalie, I'm going to have to close my show. We've been talking for an hour. My time's up. I ran over an hour.
Thank you.
But I gave you guys all an hour of the show here. I want you to still keep fighting. I want to thank Natalie, who called in from West Hollywood, sharing her story. I want to thank Lori Hilder, who had said hello here. And I have no idea where
Lori.
she's
God
from.
bless you all.
Yep, and Happy Feet 7.
Keep praying.
Happy Feet 7. And so, God bless you all. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. God bless you and keep fighting for your kids. This is Bob Pace signing off.